Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, there was a young girl named Eve. But this is not that Eve's story. Our Eve was born in the small town of Noir-et-Blanc on September 23rd, 1991, at exactly 10:32 and 46 seconds. Before Eve's arrival, her hometown, Noir-et-Blanc, had a population of 1,354 and a half, 9 dogs, 3 parakeets, 12 cats, an iguana, a Dutch wormwood horse named Phil, and a squirrel living in the tree on 32nd Street. On the day Eve was born, the weather was only slightly dreary, with a 73.26% chance of drizzle in the afternoon hours. That morning, Eve's mother had a breakfast of fresh kumquats and a whole box of raisin bran. Eve's father, on the other hand, had a breakfast of leftover 3-cheese pizza and a single slice of wheat toast. At the time she was born, Eve weighed 7 pounds and 8.94 ounces. She was the sunshine of her parents' lives. When Eve was 6 years, 11 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, 14 hours, and 35 minutes old, she discovered red balloons and how much she loved them. Exactly 19 minutes later, she discovered that red balloons pop when you hug them too tightly. Eve's father, the head of library head of Noir-et-Blanc's public library, scolded her for making so much noise. When Eve was 8 years, 2 months, 1 week, 29 days, 6 hours, and 45 minutes old, she was playing in the rain. She found that when she splashed in the puddles, if she closed her eyes, she could imagine herself as a vicious, fire-breathing sea beast wreaking havoc on the coastal town of Chateau de Sable. Eve's mother, who grew up in Chateau de Sable and absolutely hated vicious, fire-breathing sea beasts, was disappointed to see Eve's new dress drenched in muddy rainwater. 2 years, 1 month, 2 weeks, 13 days, and 52 minutes later, Eve was at lunch. She was eating a peanut butter and strawberry jelly sandwich on 2 slices of 5-day-old Wonder Bread tomato. Her friend, Jonathan Johnson, was eating a hot corned beef sandwich with Swiss cheese and French's trademark. Sweet and zesty mustard on 2 slices of raspberry. While sharing about their favorite animals, Eve informed Jonathan Johnson of her aspirations of owning her very own penguin. Jonathan Johnson quickly and matter-of-factly stated that penguins were only found in Antarctica, and in fact, you need a permit to own one. Eve later gave up her hope of one day owning her own penguin. Instead, she shifted her attention to dance, and how much she loved swinging her arms and legs helter-skelter about the room. Eve noticed the curious glances from her friends whenever she danced this way, and decided she wanted to be formally trained. She begged her parents to sign her up for dance classes every day. 738 attempts later, Eve's mother finally relented and signed her up for ballet.
And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
In ballet class, Eve discovered that although she loved the structure and the beauty of every dancer dancing in unison, she still missed the feeling of freedom that occurred when she danced in her own helter-skelter way. Eve did not remain in dance classes very long. By the time Eve was 14 years and 6 days old, she had spent exactly 8,736 hours in her father's library reading room. Eve's friends enjoyed reading books about love, vampires, and werewolves. Eve as well tried to read these books, but couldn't understand what made them so alluring. Instead, Eve preferred novels and works by William Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, Charlotte Bronte, and Kurt Vonnegut. Now, back then, Eve read vampire books along with her friends and pretended to like them, but by night, when the moon was full, she read her real favorite books in secret by flashlight under the covers of her bed. 2 years, 3 months, 7 weeks, 1 day, 14 hours, and 21 minutes later, he found himself wandering down the northeast hallway at Blanc's Public Senior High School. As she stooped down to pick up a shiny 1983 penny, she stopped suddenly at the distinct scent of 10 milligrams of H2SO4, brewed by one Nigel Hammershire. Eve was smitten. When recalling the encounter later that evening, Eve would remember his hair being slightly redder, his frame slightly taller, but his smile, she would get just right. Eve also noted that whenever Nigel was preparing to tackle a particularly difficult academic challenge, he would button the top button of his short-sleeve polo shirt. Well, his short-sleeve polo shirt thought it made Nigel's neck look fat, but said nothing. He told her friend, Jessica Withers, of her affection for the redheaded chemist, but Jessica Withers believed Eve should direct her attention to more important things, such as the upcoming Wide Bronx 7th Annual Beekeeping Competition. Still smitten, Eve would spend her study halls seeking glances at Nigel Hammersham's sienna-covered locks and wondering how it would feel to run her fingers gently through them. But, seeing Jessica's point, Eve tried her best to quell the hordes of metal-jumping mice or Zappos Hansonius that were careening out of control in her stomach whenever Nigel Hammersham entered the room. When Eve was 18 years, 8 months, 2 weeks, and 1 day old, she donned a black graduation gown and cap, and joined her fellow classmates at the Wide Blanc High School gymnasium. When even her classmates, including Jessica Withers, Jonathan Johnson, and Nigel Hammersham, were officially declared high school graduates, they threw their caps in celebration. Eve almost missed the cue for cap tossing, as her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about how in 2 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, that she would begin her college education 156 miles away from her home in Marais Blanc. This prospect filled Eve with a mixture of happiness and trepidation. Eve realized her mind had wandered and quickly threw her cap in the air with her classmates. And even though in that moment her anxiety overwhelmed her happiness, Eve smiled and laughed. Then she returned to thoughts far away. 2 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days later, heretofore known as now, Eve was preparing to leave for college. Everyone Eve had ever known was saying goodbye, good luck, and of course giving her priceless advice on how to survive the 1,368 days, more or less, before receiving her college degree. Don't be loud and obnoxious amongst your classmates, said her father. Always smile and be nice to everyone, said her mother. Never turn down the date with an attractive athlete, said Jessica. Don't forget to call. Always put on a happy face. Don't eat too much. Don't eat too little. Don't make waves. Always be friendly. Always pray before meals. Always be cheerful. Always look nice. Always do your best. Always be perfect. It was too much for Eve to handle, so she ran. Eve ran for 7 minutes and 29 seconds before arriving at her favorite tree on 32nd Street. After checking to be certain that the resident squirrel was indeed out of town, she sat at the base of the Portland apple tree and thought about everything her friends and family had told her. As she was nestled among the roots, deep in thought, a single apple fell from a tree and struck her head at the speed of 7.67 meters per second. Suddenly, Eve had an epiphany of realization. She thought to herself, that really hurt. And she continued on her merry, albeit somewhat confused and apprehensive, way. Suddenly, when Eve was 11 paces from her house on 32nd Street, Eve had a real epiphany. Eve thought about her life and all the things that she loved. Red balloons, playing in the rain, imaginary sea monsters decimating entire towns, penguins, dancing, a good novel, and the way Nigel Havisham's hair frizzled to gargantuan proportions on her head. She also considered her futile penguin-owning prospects, her failure as a ballerina, and her dust-covered juvenile vampire novels. She thought about Noir et Blanc, her father's library, her mother's advice, and the way a finger looks frighteningly like a pendulum when it waves back and forth. Before she knew it, she was running once again. These thoughts swirled in her head. She was arriving at an epiphany. A real epiphany. Eve finally realized that she could